I was glad to be invited to be with you today to provide a little interlude in the rich experience of all the wonderful music that we are enjoying this service before the later service, which includes the meaningful coming of age ritual. I am really enjoying the whole thing myself, and I'm glad to give Reverend Scott a tiny break in his triple coverage today. Today, of course, is Cinco de Mayo, a southwestern United States appropriation of a Mexican victory over the French occupation force in 1862, which most Mexicans do not celebrate. It has been used, however, as an advertising device to sell lots of beer and tequila in Los Angeles, Denver, and Houston. I've read that wishing someone a happy Cinco de Mayo could be interpreted as a cultural misunderstanding. I also missed my chance to offer a timely blessing, which was originally invented by George Lucas in the Star Wars movies almost 50 years ago, which was, of course, yesterday. May the 4th be with you. But I am told by my grandchildren that even thinking of such a phrase may be on the same level as telling a knock-knock joke. And finally, another mark of my superannuity. Recently, the name Swifty has come to mean something entirely different than when I was a teenager. Situations like these illustrate that as the decades pass, it is helpful to stay aware and, when necessary, adapt at least a little to changing cultural and social norms. But the reality is that individuals are continually changing too. Developmental psychology tells us that there are some commonly understood phases of human maturity from birth to death. The analogy is sometimes made that teenagers are confined to a sort of chrysalis, which requires them to struggle to emerge as fully formed flying butterflies, or as we were perhaps reminded, from glowworms into fireflies. In the second service today, several youths will celebrate a rite of passage with their families and mentors, as this congregation formally affirms their transition and transformation through adolescence toward adulthood. It's not a magic moment, but it is a ritual of celebration, like a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah in Judaism or a confirmation class ritual in Christianity. It is a way of elevating our collective and individual consciousness of those transitions and transformations. But unlike those other traditions, our Unitarian Universalist faith offers a program in support of each youth in their development of their individual spiritual and theological consciousness as a part of that transformation. In this Unitarian Universalist program, adult mentors and families offer guidance toward an individual statement of values and beliefs, which is still called a credo. Originally, in Christian practice over the centuries, a credo has become an affirmation of a defined catechism, which arises from a list of required beliefs. The word credo is literally translated from the Latin, which means I believe. But I was taught long ago by a minister I trust that the Latin word comes from the same root as an ancient word for heart. The implication is that credo is actually what I hold closest to my heart. I remember a credo, a defined set of beliefs, was a part of my confirmation in the Southern Methodist Church of my parents when I was about 12 years old. I was expected to recite and affirm the Nicene Creed, which comes from the 4th century. That particular statement of belief has been an essential element to the identity of Catholics and almost all Protestants around the world for almost 1,700 years. But our Unitarian Universalist departure from any required affirmation of beliefs has become the critical distinction in the development of the religious identity of both Unitarians and Universalists, especially over the past 500 years when there were organized communities. By definition, Unitarian Universalists are the heretics. That means we are those who choose something different. We choose to embrace those differences, to accept and include healthy individual choices of beliefs and practices, but they need to be consistent with our UU community values. But what are we actually doing, and why are we doing it? I will condense that answer to the remaining 4.5 minutes, since that's all the time I have. Ancient philosophers like Plato defined humans as beings in search of meaning. He taught that the meaning of life is in gaining greater knowledge and better understanding of the highest idea of good. That is possible only if we continually reconstruct meaning as we discover newer truth on the path to greater meaning. Modern philosophers have found that meaning can be fluid, flowing from experience, but paired with reflection, while connected with others in our communities. The fruit of meaning, they believe, can only come from inner awareness, fuller consciousness of those experiences and what they do mean to us and to the world. Of course, we can make ourselves more receptive to the discovery of greater meaning as we seek new and deeper experiences. Those experiences could be in relationship, of making and enjoying great art or music as we are today. That song, this poem, a special painting, sculpture at a museum, or drawings on a refrigerator door. The view we have of a river, of a mountain, of crashing waves on a shore, a first kiss, a field of wildflowers, a meal prepared or shared with loved ones. But there's more to it than just finding meaning, perceiving. To be fully human or actualized, as some of us learned from Abraham Maslow, we have to make our own lives meaningful. To do that, we must recognize that we do not thrive in isolation. To live disconnected is ultimately not life-giving. We truly thrive when we freely share and connect with others in healthy ways. We also instinctively seek and wisely choose models of intentionality and integrity, whom we may emulate in our own lives. And we can live with greater meaning when we have the chance to pass on the things we learn as a part of our growth as healthy humans. Ideally, this will also bring us the consciousness and the ability to nurture the world toward greater wholeness in ways both small and great, to the extent that we have that opportunity arising around us during our brief lives on this earth. But even for those of us much further along the journey of life, it is possible to continue to make more meaning if we choose to live with intentionality and essential consciousness. The mentors in our Coming of Age program have offered themselves, along with the families of the youth, to serve as those models, as part of their own journeys in making lives of meaning. But that is also something we adults in our congregation can share. And each of us, as faithful Unitarian Universalists, can make more choices and take more chances wherever we find that opportunity, not just to find meaning, but also to grow in spirit and make meaning, to transform ourselves, our families, our communities, and our interdependent world. An old friend once picked up on my quote of the lyrics of the Joni Mitchell song from Woodstock, "We are stardust," as a theme for his life. But I found another poem which has lyrics that speak to me directly about finding meaning in the transformations that become part of our span of one human life. This is from the poem Song of the Star by Susie Casemot. I am nothing but oxygen and hydrogen, a luminous sphere of plasma held together by helium and gravity. And like a balloon, I float on Earth, waiting to be released back into the sky or somewhere. waiting to go back in the reverse direction from which I came, traveling through a warm tunnel of light and out into a cold, dark abyss, where I may explode into 1,000 pieces and leave behind my body, just like air abandons the skin of a shattered balloon, and the magnetic dust that carries my heart and spirit will lift me back to congregate and shine with others and with the stars. Home again in the fluorescent kingdom of the constellations, I will once again be called by my soul's true name. And my heart, it will flicker again, and with every memory from its many lifetimes, and with every wish made by every child. Thank you for your attention this morning, and let us enjoy more music together.